This is really an exciting podcast for me to be sharing with you right now. I'm someone who's been literally obsessed with reishi mushroom probably for at least 7 or more years. I can remember when I first heard about this herb in probably 2005. I was instantly enamored and instantly in love with the herb and the lore and the mythology and the history and even the science surrounding this herb. And really, I've taken it almost every single day since that time. It's something which has helped me through a myriad of stressful situations, transformations, you name it, in my life. So it's something which is very near and dear to my heart. So that's exactly why I'm excited to be making this podcast right now and sharing with you the exciting release and the exciting availability of the Reishi Spore oil. Now, for me, I'm a reishi connoisseur, a reishi aficionado, just a reishi obsessed person. And to to really crystallize it, I mean, I spent the last couple days actually in the Great Smoky Mountains National Forest on a few hikes. And one hike I definitely spotted some reishi mushrooms, but they were already infested with beetles. They were already too far mature, so I was not able to find any. But actually, yesterday, I went on a hike through an old growth forest and saw the most amazing reishi specimens I've ever seen in my entire life. I literally saw a few hundred different wild reishi mushrooms, all different shapes and sizes, especially on some very old growth trees. I saw a reishi that was about the size of a beach ball. It was absolutely huge. So that's just kind of the extent that I'll go to find reishi and just to connect with it in any way that I can. So to get to the whole point of the podcast, reishi spore oil is something that really I had always heard about, kind of read about, and kind of saw a lot in the early days, and I always kind of dreamed of having it. So that's why I'm really excited to be able to bring it out and to be able to share it with you right now. So basically, in this podcast, no, I'm not just going to go on about how much I like reishi. What we're going to do is talk about what is reishi spore oil, why it's so just ridiculously potent and effective, kind of how it's made, what it is, just sort of what we need to know and understand to really get a great feel for what really makes this product so special and so profound, and what really makes us so lucky and fortunate to be able to access it in such an easy way. So reishi spore oil can be anywhere from 300 to 350 times more potent than the actual reishi mushroom. So if that's the only thing that you need to know or only thing to take away from this podcast, you can see now why I'm so excited about it and why it's such a cool thing for me to be able to share with you right now. It's just a cool thing for us to be able to access at this point in history. Because really never before, in human times, people had reishi mushrooms, but, they could just make tea, and that was really it. But they never could access and really utilize the true essence or really the concentrated essence found within the spores. So really, the spore oil, like I said, can be 300 to 350 times more potent than the actual reishi mushroom. And, even the 10-to-1 extract is extremely strong and extremely potent, and the spore oil is even considerably more potent and concentrated than that. So to really illustrate that and to put it in context, a concentrated hot water extract that's say a 10-to-1 may have 1 to 3% triterpenes. But the reishi spore oil can have 33 to 38% triterpenes. That means within every 500 milligram capsule, there's 165 to 190 milligrams of pure triterpenes. Now, I'll repeat that. There's 165 milligrams to 190 milligrams of pure triterpenes in every 500 milligram capsule. That is incredibly and unfathomably strong, potent, and really just pretty darn cool. So to give you more of an idea how it's made and what makes it so potent and amazing, if you're not familiar with reishi, you're not familiar with mushrooms or really, I guess, the biology, there's a few different things we need to understand. There's three different parts or stages of the mushroom. There's the mycelium, which is the actual organism of the mushroom. Then there's the actual fruiting body or thing that we see, or the reproductive organ of the reishi mushroom. And that's what the symbol of reishi and the herb that we all see. That's actually the reproductive organ or the fruiting body of the reishi mycelium. But the spore is what the mushroom releases into the atmosphere and sort of in the atmosphere around it and even on top of the mushroom. The mushroom releases it as sort of its reproductive essence or its sperm or its way of procreating and reproducing and continuing on. So basically what happens is when the mushroom reaches maturity, it releases its spores into the air, and then those spores travel through the air, land on other trees, land on other rotting logs, and boom, the reishi is able to reproduce and carry on. So those are the three different stages of reishi mushroom. Now, the hot water extracts that we get on Hyperion herbs, those are all hot water extracts from the fruiting body. Because the fruiting body has been proven and shown to have more of the active constituents than the mycelium. So that's why we use it. But the spores also have a fairly rich concentration of the triterpenes, polysaccharides, ganoderic acids, and nucleic acids and other things which give reishi its medicinal and tonic qualities. So to give you an idea how potent and how strong this stuff actually is, it takes 1,000 kilograms of reishi mushrooms to produce 1 kilogram of reishi spores. From there, it takes 1,000 kilograms of spores to produce just 1 to 3 kilograms of reishi spore oil. So in case you're not familiar with what a kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So you can see how incredibly strong, potent, and concentrated, and really how much goes into one capsule of reishi spore oil. So really what reishi spore oil is the extracted essence of the reishi spores. It's essentially the oils which are extracted from the spores. So it really doesn't get much more concentrated and potent than that. And how the reishi spore oil is produced and extracted is through a proprietary supercritical CO2 extraction process. Basically what that means is that there's no heat, there's no hexane, there's no alcohol, there's no hot water, there's no solvents of any kind. Basically what is used is, a low temperature and carbon dioxide. So it really uses pressure to extract the nutrients and the oils from the spores. This is important because when we're dealing with oils and lipids and the fat-soluble constituents, we really don't want to expose those to high heat, because if we're dealing with a pure oil, it can, very often go rancid, or very often, go trans fatty, or just be sort of decomposed or distorted or altered in some way. But because it's done in the CO2 low temperature method, there's no oxidation, there's no degradation or any damage to the actual essence or the actual oils from the spores. So not only is it extremely concentrated, extremely potent, not only does so much go into it, but it's done in a way that actually preserves the integrity of the oils. And you might be wondering, well, what do they do with the reishi? Do they just harvest the spores and throw them away? No, that's not what happens. Definitely not. Those reishis don't go to waste. Basically what happens is the reishis are grown. Well, I can speak for the reishis that you get on Hyperion. I can speak for how they're grown. Basically, there's a farm up in the mountains in a specific region in China. So what they do is they have the farmland, they have this high elevation, that reishi enjoys. Then what they do is basically set up kind of a reishi farm. Really all that means is certain strips of log are buried in, very mineral rich, very nutrient dense soil, and then kind of a tent is built over that. That way they can control the air, the water, the humidity, the temperature, all these different factors to be able to produce the highest quality reishi. So then once the reishi begins to reach maturity, when they're popping out of the ground, they're then basically they put kind of like a cardboard box around it, and then inside of the box there's a certain paper material that then catches the spores. So as I mentioned earlier, when the reishi reaches maturity, it sort of puffs out the spores into the air. So because they put the box around the mushroom, boom, the spores pour out, or I'm sorry, the spores puff out into the container which is capturing it, and then it's a really easy, economical way to harvest all of the spores. So then what they harvest from the spores, that's then used, to make the spore oil. So obviously, no, definitely none of the reishi is going to waste. It's not being harmed. That's just, I mean, that would be a silly thing because we all know and understand how amazing reishi is and, what it can do. And if you're new to this and you're wondering, well, who cares about reishi? What's reishi do? Definitely check out my other podcast. Check out the 4-hour audio course that I did on reishi. Check out the dozens and dozens of YouTube videos that I have and podcasts and just education and content galore on this one herb. So now that we have a better understanding what the spore oil is, what goes into it to make it so incredibly potent and concentrated, we understand how it's produced, we understand how the spores are collected. Let's talk a little bit about, some of the effects that it can have and some of the things that it can do for us. So basically, when I first got this product, when I first became interested in it, I was a little bit hesitant, to be quite honest. And I was hesitant because it is pretty darn expensive. I mean, there's no way around it. There's no way to really sidetrack that issue. And it's only expensive because, like I said, it takes 1,000 kilos of reishi mushrooms to produce 1 kilogram of spores. It takes 1,000 kilos of spores to produce 1 to 3 kilograms of spore oil. So for obvious reasons, it's going to be expensive. So for that reason, I was a little, reluctant to bring it out because I was like, well, I really like this for myself. It's really awesome, but, it is a little bit pricey. So let me just let people try it and just let them tell me. So basically what I did, I had some of my closest friends, I gave them some, and then a few of actually some clients from Hyperion, I contacted them and said, hey, would you be willing to test this out for me and just, let me know what you think? I didn't say, this is the best thing ever. I didn't hype it up. I didn't tell them what they were going to feel. I didn't tell them anything about it. I said, hey, I've got this Reishi Spore oil, thinking about releasing it. Would you mind just taking it? Tell me your thoughts. Love it, hate it, whatever it is. No pressure, no big deal. Here it is. So that's basically what I did. And unanimously, and usually within like the first day of actually receiving it, everyone came back with pretty much the same thing. And that is, wow, this stuff is really good. Wow, I'm almost out. Wow, I'm running low. Wow, I wish I had more. So what people reported and what people felt was the real calmness or the real Shin aspect that Reishi can provide. And Shin refers to the third treasure in sort of the three treasure understanding of the body. Shin refers to our mind, our heart, sort of our higher consciousness, if you will. And really, that's what makes Reishi so famous, is for its ability to really work on the nervous system and the mind and the emotions, help us to be a little more flexible, adaptable, sort of open up our consciousness to new possibilities, new horizons, and new opportunities for ourselves. And that's why Reishi is called, the spirit herb or the herb of spiritual potency. And this is really what it's been called for thousands of years. And probably also why it's found ubiquitously throughout, ancient Chinese artwork, ancient Chinese poetry, ancient Chinese paintings, door hangings, door frames, chairs, clothing, you name it, it was within their culture. And it was a literal symbol for good luck, good fortune, longevity, and even many people regarded it as sort of a magical talisman. So it has all of this contained. And this is the main thing that people reported feeling from it. And that's definitely what I felt from it from the very beginning. And even just taking one capsule, biting into it, sucking out the liquid, and swishing around my mouth, it's nearly, instant effects, and you can really feel it come over you, and definitely feel that calming, relaxing, grounding sensation that reishi provides. So from there, that's definitely the main thing that I heard. Most people just say, "Hey, I felt more relaxed, I felt more calm, I felt more chilled out, more, in tune, more sort of present, more in the moment, kind of a heightened sense of being here now, heightened sense of consciousness." Other people said it, helped out with digestive issues, helped out with liver and gallbladder issues as well. But definitely the number one thing, the most unanimous thing was the Shen, the spiritual aspects or the nervous system, more meditation, chilling out aspects that Reishi is so famous for. So from there, since everyone basically reported back the same thing, and because I loved it so much myself, I decided, well, you know what? I'm just gonna have to do this. It needs to be done. Obviously, this is the time for it to come out. So that's basically what I've been working on pretty hard over the last few months, and it's finally out and finally ready to go. So if you want to check it out, there's probably a link below on this page where you can check it out. And there's free shipping on it right now. So that you can basically just pick up a bottle and get free shipping. So as I mentioned before, it has a really rich concentration of the triterpenes. 33 to 38% triterpenes is what the oil actually is. So if you have a 500 milligram capsule, you're getting 165 to 190 milligrams of triterpenes. So the triterpenes do a lot in the body, but I guess specifically what we could say that they're most known for is, the cardiotonic effects and the liver effects, the nervous system effects, and the more deeper tonifying and balancing effects in the body, meaning like the hormones, nervous system, liver, digestion, heart, those sort of things. And that's because we're dealing with the oils, we're dealing with the lipids, we're dealing with the oil soluble constituents. And if you really want to be blown away, definitely just go to PubMed or Google Scholar, type in Reishi Spore oil, Organoderma spore oil, type in Reishi triterpenes, and you'll see some pretty amazing studies of what it can do in studies dealing with cancer and tumors and hepatitis and viral things and other issues like that. Obviously, I'm not making any claims. I'm not making any medical recommendations. I'm just saying I went on there and I looked at it and I saw some pretty interesting, thought-provoking research. And if it's something that you want to pursue more deeply, then definitely do that. And really, it's not that reishi is in itself anti this or anti that. It's really that reishi helps the body do what it needs to do and be more balanced and be tonified. So that's really what the triterpenes are most famous for. And again, I think the main thing that most people responded to and reported back to me was the definite nervous system effects. Just feeling more relaxed, more grounded, and more peaceful. So now, before I wrap this up, as you can hear, I have the bottle right here next to me. I'm looking at it. The best way to take the reishi spore oil, because it is so concentrated, because it's so potent, because it is so expensive, we want to make sure we can get the best out of it. Basically, what we want to do is just take the capsule and chew it up, bite it open like candy. Suck out the liquid, suck out the oil, swish it around your mouth, and really just discard the capsule. And if you swish the oil around your mouth and mix it with your saliva, get it in your cheeks and your gums and under your tongue, it'll absorb quite quickly, and you'll feel the effects faster, and you'll be getting a lot more out of it. That's how I take it. That's how I've taken it from day one, because it is so precious and delicate. I feel like that's just the easiest way to really get it in your system to make sure you get the most out of it. So that's what I would do, and that's what I would recommend as far as how to take it. The flavor is really not too bad at all. It's really actually quite pleasant. It's kind of oily and buttery in a way, with obviously a slight tinge of bitterness and mushroominess, because it's kind of what it is. But it has a really kind of a nice oiliness and butteriness to it. And you'll notice that there's no additives, there's no carrier oils, there's no fillers, no nothing. It's the pure oil from the reishi spores. Which even now, just looking at it, even just thinking about it, talking about it, it's kind of blows my mind, and it's just reminds me that it's really cool to be able to share it with you now and to be able to make this podcast and to be able to bring this level or this quality of a product forward. So hopefully you dig it. Hopefully this has been entertaining. Hopefully it's been educational, informative, inspiring. And like I said, it's something I'm just really, really stoked about. Really excited to be bringing forward. And hopefully this podcast has answered all of your questions. If not, I'm sure there's going to be more. So I'm happy to answer those because this is such a new thing, because it is such a new, just profoundly potent and delicate thing. Definitely, if you have any other questions, feel free to send me an email and I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you want to check out more about the Reishi Spore oil or you want to pick some up, definitely check the link below. And I look forward to talking to you soon.